Friday morning. This is the 3rd of November 2021. You are tuned in to Camnet television, not just another channel where we bring you this very important program in the morning where we discuss a lot of pertinent issues happening around in our country. I know these particular weeks have been full of activities and a lot of entertainment on social media. If you do have bundles, you know you do go on social media every time. You would agree with me that there's been a lot of entertainment happening around in the country, and of course a lot of anger by some people who feel their democratic right is being infringed. But away from that, this breakfast show on a Friday is for business, and of course we look forward to having a wonderful conversation, discussion, and of course interaction with you, the viewer. This particular program also gives you an opportunity just to call, make those contributions and submissions. So I look forward to listening to you. You can call through the numbers that are on the screen and we can get to conversate. So I am your host this morning, Prudence Chota, and of course I will be joined by my guests later on in the program where we will be discussing important topics and of course with regards to what is happening around in many areas of concern. So even right about now, before I can talk too much already, we are going to go into the doctor's corner, or rather the health corner, just to see what the doctors have for us this particular morning. Let's see what the doctors have to say.
Good morning, my name is Dr. Rafat Basit Masa. I'm coming from Medical Women's Association of Zambia, ZAMBIA'S, and I'm from University Teaching Hospital. I'm working in Department of Surgery. We have been talking about very exciting topic, that's burns. We've talked about introduction of burns, we've talked about causes of burns, we've talked about symptoms of burns, we've talked about treatment of burn. This whole week we've been talking about also complications of burns. Today we're going to talk about prevention of burns. Remember, we have talked about burns, what causes burns. Remember, we talked about things that cause burns are hot water, oil, porridge. Then you can have acids, you can have alkalines, you can have electricity, you can have so many chemicals, you can have so many things that causes burns. And these burns are quite devastating because it totally changes the life of a person. So we talked about also the symptoms. We said the burns are very painful, they become red, there is loss of skin. So we also talked about types of burns. We talked about first degree, we talked about second degree, and we talked about third degree. We talked about first degree, which is more of superficial burns. They can be handled quite well with just ointments and a bit of cleaning around. But second degree burns are slightly deeper than the first degree burns, and they need to be cleaned under supervision. So you find that they are also very painful, and they also cause you to not to move a part of your body because you are so much in pain. So it's also something very, very difficult and devastating. Then we also talked about third degree burn, which are the most devastating burns because they burn your organ can be burned, your bones can be burned, your muscles can be burned, you can be really burnt deeply. And those burns actually have no pain because you have lost all the sensation in that area of your body. If it's a very big area, so it means you have lost sensation in that whole part of your body. So you find that that causes you to actually lose a lot of fluids. You find that your kidney starts to fail, your heart starts to dysfunction, you lose a lot of blood, you become very dehydrated. So all these factors that come in as complications of burns. So in terms of prevention of burns, let's make sure that we prevent our burns. We make sure that we keep ourselves safe. when you don't have electricity, when you switch on candles, make sure the candles are kept somewhere far away. They should not be so close to you that you end up, because majority of the kind of patients we receive, they sleep in the night. You find that they have put candles in their close to them, and you find that candle falls onto the blanket gets burned together with the patient, and you find they actually get very, very severe burns, and it's so difficult and it's so devastating. Getting burnt is not a nice thing. Everyone wants to have their skin the way they are. It's not nice to get burnt and lose that beautiful face of yours. It's very, very depressing. We also have people we have majority of children getting burnt, which is a very, very sad, it's a very sad thing for us, because children are our future and they are getting burned, which is not a nice thing. So you find that majority of children are getting burnt because of they are kept with the maid, and majority accidents happen because the parents, you find the father and the mother have gone out for work and they are left with their nannies, and somehow they get burned, which is also very sad. So we have to ensure that when we are keeping children, other people's children, so please make sure that you look after them like your own child. Make sure you protect them from stoves, from electricity, from hot pots, hot oil, all these things. When you're cooking in the kitchen, tell them not to enter the kitchen until they are done with the work. This thing of putting pots and hot things on the stove and leaving that place for a little bit of time, it's already enough time for a child to go and touch that thing and burn him or herself completely. So it's something which we can prevent ourselves. Make sure in the bathtub, when you're filling hot water for a child, ensure that you see the hot water yourself, fill it with your hands, and make sure that it's not too hot, because that way you also burn the children. We've also received people who have been burnt like that. So you make sure that it also psychologically depresses you. There are a lot of people who have been burnt, great percentages. You find they are alive, but they are always depressed. They have tendency of they don't want to live anymore because they feel like they are no longer beautiful anymore, and they feel like they are different from the rest of the world. So they have started isolating themselves. They become very, very depressed, which is not a nice thing, because we all want to see each other happy. We also want to see each other healthy. Being healthy it's very happy. There's a lot of happiness of being healthy. So ensure that we protect ourselves. Your sockets, please ensure that you keep them away from children, because the electrical burns that we receive are very, very deep. They are very hard to also to treat as well, and they are also very difficult for the patient, because, for example, one area has been burned and they cannot live like a normal person. They cannot write books anymore. They cannot study. They cannot do a lot of things. That becomes very difficult. So make sure that we keep our children safe from getting burnt, because in UTH we receive so many burn patients every single day, which can easily be avoidable. And majority of these children get burnt with their nannies. It's very rare that mothers actually they get burnt with mothers. So please make sure that when we are leaving our children with nannies, we make sure we speak to them very nicely to tell them that please look after my child and make sure that he or she does not get burnt, because getting burns, you end up spending lots and lots of time in the hospital. That's also very depressing, because you find that you are in hospital for weeks and weeks and weeks, and time goes, and even after your child is fully functional, you find the child is depressed because of the huge trauma that he or she has gone through. So please make sure that you protect everyone else and yourself. So our take-home message is: prevent is better than getting cure. So prevent yourselves from getting burned. Prevent your little kids from getting burned. If you prevent yourself from getting burned, then you will have none of these complications So please ensure that you look after yourselves and you look after our children. My name's Dr. Rafat Basit Masa. I'm coming from Medical Women's Association of Zambia, MWA'S. This whole week we've gone through burns. We'll be bringing you different types of exciting topics that you'll be learning from us every single day. Every day you'll be learning different beautiful things. Being happy is being healthy. Being healthy is being happy. So make sure that we all live healthy and happy. Please keep watching Camnet because it will bring you different topics with different complications, different preventions, and different ways of looking into it. Thank you very much.
There you have it. That was the doctor giving us an update today on, burns that by all costs we need to avoid. Just pardon me. So apologies for that mix-up in sound. So the doctor has talked about, burns and how we need to ensure that we prevent at all times our children falling victims of burns. There is nothing that is, demotivating for a child growing up with a disfigured face because at one point they were involved in an accident that could have been avoidable. There's a lot of guilt sometimes that comes up. And some children ask even to say, but where was my mother? Where was my father when I was having to go through all this? And then, sometimes let's also talk to our kids when we are home to ensure that they do not, mock people who've got different disabilities. I know this sometimes among children can be a problem. When they go to school, they see someone who's looking different from them. They look at them as strangers. Let's learn to teach our children to love others. That way, our friends with certain conditions will feel at ease and at place because, there's a lot of anger by our colleagues who've got different illnesses. It can be a condition because they feel sometimes isolated. Where you want to play with other kids and then other kids, he looks like a chinyao, he does what? So things like that. Let's ensure that we avoid burns at any cost. When you're putting water in a tub to bath the kids, ensure that as a parent you are there. Do not go very far. Have, the doctor talks about you feel the temperature and stuff like that. So thank you so much, Dr. Masa, for that tip on how to prevent burns at all costs. So even right about now, we are going to look at the money market. How is it that our local currency is faring against other major convertibles? I know this particular one has not been performing according to expectation, but nonetheless, let's just look at the money market for this morning. There you have it. That is the money market as of today, 3rd of November 2023 at 06:59 hours. The Zambian kwacha against the Great British Pound was buying at 26 kwacha 85 ngwe and selling at 27 kwacha 38 ngwe. The Zambian kwacha against the Great Euro is buying at 23 kwacha 44 ngwe and selling at 23 kwacha 19 ngwe. The Zambian kwacha against the South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha 20 ngwe and selling at 1 kwacha 22 ngwe. The Zambian kwacha against the United States dollar this morning is buying at 21 kwacha 99 ngwe and selling at 22 kwacha 42 ngwe. Zambian kwacha there against the US dollar not doing according to what we expect. I know it has even bypassed the maturity stage from being an adult. It's now an adult, our local currency. As we can see, that it's no longer a child. If it commits an offense where it is now being guaranteed that they will face the law like any other senior citizen. So that is the money market for this morning as of today, the 3rd of November 2023. Also, we are going to just zoom into some of the stories that made headline in our news yesterday, and then we can get to conversate. You too can be part of the conversation. Just let us know what your take is regarding the topics that we are discussing. this morning. Remember, something did happen in Parliament yesterday where the Petawoke Central Member of Parliament, Emmanuel Banda, has been sent off the House for 14 days. Actually, it has been suspended by the Speaker of the National Assembly yesterday because of the hot issues that we have in Parliament. He was first suspended for 7 days, but because he went ahead and continued talking, even when the Speaker told him not to speak, it ended on her slapping him with a 14-day sentence. So we are going to zoom into that story that made headlines because drama has continued in Parliament with Petawoke Central Member of Parliament, J.J. Banda, having been slapped with a 14-day suspension from the House and its activities after he was named by the Speaker, Nelly Moti, for misconduct. Let's just see what happened in Pali yesterday.
Let me inform you, Mr. Emmanuel J. Banda, that in accordance with the decision of this House, you have been suspended from the service of the Assembly for a period of 7 sitting days. During the period of your suspension, and in accordance with the Standing Order 2091 and 2, and also Section 28(3) of the National Assembly, Powers and Privileges Act Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia, you will not enter the principles of the Assembly. You will not participate in any business or activities of the Assembly and its committees, including those in which, if any, you participate in your capacity as an honorable member of the National Assembly, and receive the salary or allowances that you are entitled to. I now order you to leave the chamber through the main entrance. Order, order, order. In view of the continued disorderly conduct, the honorable member will be suspended for 14 sitting days, effective today.
There you have it, Mr. Banda there protesting against his 7-day suspension, which resulted in the Speaker adding an extra 7 days to 14 days. During this period, he will not be entitled to any allowances. Of course, also undertaking any constituency duties because it is currently under suspension. Most of you, I know you may be asking, what is it that Mr. J. Banda did? Of course, there was a debate on the floor of the House where he was, debating the current happenings in the Patriotic Front, which resulted in the Speaker not being so happy with the choice of words and the conduct of Mr. Banda, which resulted in him being suspended for 7 days. But because he protested the decision and kept talking, when the Speaker was also talking, they had to slap him with a 14-day suspension from any Parliament activities, including in his constituency. So you too can be part of the conversation. Did the Speaker act in order by suspending Mr. Banda due to his conduct in the floor of the House yesterday? So even we did see some, I've been following reactions on social media this morning when I woke up. As I was preparing to come for work and I was coming for work, I was just going through some of the concerns that I can see on Facebook. And I know there are a number of people that have been seen that are even calling for the suspension of the Speaker of the National Assembly herself. So you too can be part of the conversation. Let us know what you feel about this particular story that made headline in our news yesterday. Was the Speaker in order to suspend Mr. J. Banda yesterday for gross misconduct? In other news, also, governance actors have expressed concerns with the manner in which business is being handled in Parliament. Governance activist Bredna Changala notes with concerns the inconsistencies in the Speaker of the National Assembly's ruling in the House to the extent of preventing democratically elected members of Parliament from speaking. political analyst. Also, Mr. Alex Ngoma says the behavior of the Speaker of the National Assembly is a concern not only to opposition members of parliament, but also to people who elected them. So we've seen there Mr. Ngoma and Mr. Changala adding their voices to the current happenings in Parliament. You too can add your voice. Let us know what you think over the conduct of the Speaker of the National Assembly before we can dive into our interview this morning at 08 hours. So let's zoom into that story that made headline in our news yesterday so that you may just understand what we are talking about.
Madam Speaker, there's a way in which I would want to raise the point.
Honorable member for Kamfinsa, I have guided.
This is a democratic country, Madam Speaker. We should be allowed to speak. We should be allowed to speak. Madam Speaker, why are you preventing me from speaking? This is our country. We all belong to this country. We should be allowed to.
This is what characterized Parliament yesterday, Wednesday, November 1st.
Order, honorable member. Honorable member for Kamfinsa, out. Can you leave the house? Leave the house now. The Sergeant at Arms, can you make sure that you clear the house? Clear the house. Security, please, can you help clear the house?
Governance activist Brenna Changala says the Speaker of the National Assembly should stop handling business of the House as if she is the captain.
This is the first time in the history of that parliament that it looked like it was a war zone. The Speaker, Nelly Muti, is behaving like she's the defender of the executive. And we people outside are watching. And we are not happy with her conduct. She has no respect for that institution. But most importantly, she has no respect for the people that we have sent there. We were very sad that they had to walk out. They should have stuck there so that she understands where the power of the people is. And I urge the members of the opposition to continue to disrupt her misconduct. She's not a monitor. She's an umpire.
Meanwhile, political analyst Alex Ngoma says the mishandling of parliamentary business is becoming of great concern to the Zambian people.
The Zambian people must begin to get extremely concerned that nearly every week people are complaining that they are not being treated properly, they are not being treated fairly, that they are being denied an opportunity to express themselves. People go to parliament to speak on behalf of the people. So if they are not given an opportunity to speak, that is very, very unfortunate.
Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Parliament has been full of activities this week, and of course we look forward to seeing what will happen today during the Vice President question and answer session. And also remember that the same today in the afternoon we are likely to have the opposition members of Parliament address the press. So we look forward to some of these meetings that we'll be having today. And you know, Parliament has been full of activities. You too can be part of the conversation this morning. Do you think the Speaker is being fair in the manner in which she is handling the matters of Parliament? Shout out to everyone watching us on different platforms, on our Facebook page, on YouTube. We say good morning to you, Mr. Vincent Piri from Vubwi there. I don't know if it's indeed Mr. Piri you are in Vubwi or you are in Lusaka. But of course, shout out to you and everyone watching us this morning on our platform, on Camnet TV. So we are weighing in on some of the stories that made headline in our news yesterday before we can allow the guests just to settle in and we discuss our topic this morning. But you too can be part of the conversation. Let us know what you have to say with regards to the conduct of the Speaker of the National Assembly. Also yesterday, remember what led to, you know, a lot of tension in Parliament, I mean the day before yesterday, was because the Speaker has actually announced a new sitting routine in Parliament where the new opposition leader of Parliament has taken over from Mr. Mundubile. So, you know, there's been some changes that have been made in the way now Parliament should sit, where the new Speaker of the opposition should be, and where the other who was there before, that is Mr. Brian Mundubile, has been moved. This is in accordance to the letter that was written to Parliament by Patriotic Front President Mr. Mao Sampa, who requested that the new leader of the opposition in Parliament takes up his position. So, you know, that particular incident led to a lot of debate the day before yesterday, which resulted in some of the parliamentarians protesting and leaving the House. We saw tension continue even yesterday, where Mr. J.J. Banda has now been suspended for a period of 14 days for his conduct in Parliament yesterday, which the Speaker calls disrespectful. You too can be part of the conversation. Let us know what you have to say this particular morning. Is the Speaker being fair in the manner in which she is handling Parliament business? Also, you can leave us a message on our Facebook page and we'll be able to read those particular messages. So these are the current happenings in the country. Patriotic Front is happening. In the past 2 weeks, we can say Patriotic Front is happening because it has been full of activities. Then also, remember, we did see the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Securities, Mr. Jack Mwimbu, yesterday addressed the press, where he did mention that the decision taken by police officers to block members of the Patriotic Front from accessing the party secretariat last week was meant to prevent a bloodbath between the two political parties. Remember, there was a camp by the former president, Edgar Lungu, who wanted actually to access the Patriotic Front premises, but police were there to guard it. But Mr. Mwimbu says that particular activity by police officers was not meant to deter anyone from accessing the premises, but preventing bloodbath, because we have this particular camp that wants to access the facility. We also have the Mao Sampa camp that want to access the facility. So imagine if there was no police presence, what could have happened at the secretariat? At the same time, we, the people of Zambia, could have been the one blaming police officers for failing to maintain law and order. If anything, pardon me, erupted at the Patriotic Front Secretariat. But who knows? Was it the right decision for government to take, you know, to block the PF with what is happening in their political party from accessing the party secretariat? Or maybe police should give them a leeway for them to go and hold their meetings in that particular premises. So addressing the media in Lusaka Thursday, Mr. Mwimbu says the government had entered, following the return of former President Edgar Lungu into active politics, that the two PF factions would fight for occupation for the secretariat. The minister has denied the government's involvement in the wrangles that have been engulfed the former ruling party, stating that its primary interest is to protect the lives of citizens regardless of their standing in society. Meanwhile, Mr. Mwimbu has also dispelled assertions that there is a shrinking civic space in the country, stating that opposition political parties are enjoying their rights of expression and assembly, including in front of government buildings. Let's just see Mr. Mwimbu responding to allegations that democratic space is shrinking in Zambia, as well as concerns that the Patriotic Front is the wrangle being fueled in the Patriotic Front is because of the UPND. We have heard people saying, how come police officers are able to protect Mr. Miles, even when they were holding the meeting, police officers were there, so it means the UPND is the one that is fueling the wrangles in the PF. But maybe, just a thought, if police officers were not present at Mulungushi, what do you think would have happened with the other camp or the other side of the camp? And if police officers do not protect Mr. Miles as he moves and does other things, remember he's also a Zambian citizen away from being a politician. Just maybe a thought of what do you think would be the case? Is he safe or is his life in danger? We are not the ones to judge, but you too can be part of the conversation. Let's just zoom into the story that made headline in our news yesterday.
Government has justified the police blockade of the Patriotic Front PF Secretariat in Lusaka on October 30th, 2023 Former President Edgar Lungu and company failed to access the Patriotic Front Secretariat on the festive day as the area was surrounded by the police. Addressing the press, Thursday, the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, Jack Mwimbu, said the move was aimed at preventing an imminent violent clash between the two PF camps.
Us as government, we are to be akimbo and let matters be sorted out by the two parties without providing security. We did provide security ourselves as government by ensuring that the PF Secretariat was protected. If we did not move in as police through my ministry, there would have been a bloodbath.
Mr. Mwimbu stressed that government has no involvement in the leadership wrangles that have locked the former ruling party.
And those who destroyed MMD have now moved to PF. They are part and parcel of the saga that is evolving in PF. It is therefore mischievous for anyone to start suggesting that we are the ones who are doing all the shenanigans in PF. You all know what is going on. The fight is between the two.
Meanwhile, Mr. Mwimbu has also accused some opposing political parties of deliberately committing crimes to create a notion that there is a shrinking democratic space in the country, on the contrary to what is obtaining.
Some of our colleagues in the opposition deliberately commit crimes, and when the law follows them, they cry foul that their political space is being narrowed by government. Why is it that only specific individuals are the only ones who are being followed by the law?
For Camnet TV News, Afias Kaptula, Lusaka.
There you have it, Home Affairs Minister Jack Mwimbu addressing the press yesterday, where he has denied government's involvement in the wrangles in the Patriotic Front. Mr. Mwimbu has also denied the fact that the democratic space in the country is shrinking, saying actually opposition leaders are even free to assemble anywhere, including public, places. They can go in front of a public place and assemble, which was not the case in the previous year. He has also mentioned the fact that, some people are deliberately breaking the law so that when police officers act, they claim they are being, mistreated. Is Mr. Mwimbu, actually just saying the truth, looking at what is happening in the country, or maybe there is more to what is happening in the country that we can also, just talk about, or add a voice to? So is it true that indeed what is happening in the country is being fueled by the opposition itself? Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Sir, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
No, we are not fine in our country.
Mkwai.
I'm calling from Chilanga, Msonda.
Mr. Msonda, please go ahead. It's good to know Chilanga is watching this morning.
Yes, the first thing I'm getting is over the Speaker of the National Assembly. This Speaker of the National Assembly, when we look at the marks from the political activist, Mr. Barnaba Jangala, it's the first time these things are happening in our country. And these guys, they don't want to see parliamentarians speak. When you look at the Honorable Kangombe Kamfisa MP, he has the right to debate. That's why he's in the parliament. But how do you have a speaker who wants us to be sending off only the opposition political parties? Then we are in the crisis. Very serious crisis. The speaker is acting like a person who is at the market, chasing JJ Banda when he has the right to debate.
So what is your call? It it seems we lost our caller this morning, but you too can be part of the conversation. Let us know what you have to say with regards to some of the things we've mentioned. Our caller there just spoke to the fact that he agrees with Mr. Bredna Changala when he says this is the first time in the history of the country that we are seeing the Speaker of the National Assembly stopping opposition members of Parliament from debating when indeed they were elected to Parliament to go and debate and represent their people. So by him actually suspending Mr. JJ, by her, pardon me, actually suspending Mr. JJ Banda, she was not in order because he had the right to speak. Remember that there was also an incident of Mr. Kangombe just last month where he was equally sent out of Parliament because he was told to stop speaking by the Speaker, but he kept debating. When he raised a point of order before the floor of Parliament, he was suspended before the House and was given, I think, some few days to be out of the House. Then he went back. So our caller there has indicated that indeed what is happening in the country is for the first time, and the Speaker is not being, fair to opposition leaders. Hello, good morning.
So government is really there to protect it. I'm going to see abantu. Things what I'm watching abantu. Government is about where I'm going to go. But this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do. That's not free. But I'm going to market politics for what I'm doing. So government is there to everybody. You should not come to the government. You should allow. The people who are there, they are going to go. Fina tuwalika kwa tapisho kwa pinga. Ndio bakafumu bakabukusta mchana. Kinyo kwa tuwe tukamkona mama kekeri pia. Kio ngoni finish. No. Nino kwa ngata fuko ndio kwa pia kwa pia chance kwa stagaza waka kwa muno. Haita ngo bana influence hawa kan mtu musumo president kwa kutika. Papa pata. Ndio 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 tuwali jumuiya teke. Tese ni kwa hiyo sasa president tungu kitamano hiyo ngo weka hivi.
All right, sir. Okay. That is another citizen. Unfortunately, you did not even tell me where you're calling us from, but of course he's equally adding his voice and saying what police officers are doing is actually the best they can do for the people of Zambia because they are protecting us. If we allow these people to be meeting anyhow, we don't know what they'll be planning, that's according to him. And before you know it, there'll be a bloodbath in this particular country. So he says it is the responsibility actually of police officers to keep the peace in the country. Imagine if we just allowed this group of people just to be meeting and doing everything they are doing, it will be quite a challenge. So it was adding a contribution to that, and it has mentioned the fact that what is actually being obtained is what should be, because police officers have a duty and a responsibility to ensure that they keep law and order in the country. And also he's saying, it is true that the democratic space of this country has not shrunk, because we can see the opposition even assembling and other people even returning back to politics when they were given a chance to rule for the past 7 years, which of course he has described it is only where we have had enough and let President Ichlema be given an opportunity.
Hello?
Sir, good morning.
Hello?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, madam. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
No, we are not fine. I'm the previous caller who called from Chiranga, Msonda.
Yes, Mr. Msonda.
Yeah, of course, it's not my duty to object to whatever any person contributes on your program. But the previous caller, he's talking like he's not in a democratic country. Because if Dr. Kaunda the late, may so rest in peace, if he had denied most of the political parties to participate in the issues of the country, we could not have democracy today. So the previous thinks he's going to be talking like the way he's talking. PF has a duty to meet because this is a democracy country. And when you talk of assembling, they have been assembling, that's why they are in power. So there are so many political parties, and it's not that when PF meets to have a meeting, then it means they are planning evil on this country. PF is a peaceful country, a peaceful party. But what you should realize is that it's only today, and they are seeing what UPND, people are seeing, Zambians are seeing what is happening. We are talking about the happenings in the parliament. Those people are elected by people to go and represent them. So when they are voicing out, it's not the Campinsa MP who is talking, it's the people from Campinsa. So let's be mindful that the wrong is a wrong. When the speaker looks at an MP and wants to contribute, let the MP finish contributing. Because the happenings, the continuous happenings of speaker chasing away JJ Banda, where people are, they have reaction and they have that hate. And that speaker, he will be hate for the rest of his parliamentary service. Because when you look at also this government, where can Sampa get powers to get police officers? They are forgetting that people are able to see. Mao Sampa, he has there and he has done this for the first time. So, if they want to correct the situation, it was going to be better to allow PF leaders to be assembling at the secretary. But now, if they deny their premises not to be going there, it's a chaos. So now, they are saying, no, we are not part and parcel. But are they telling the children? People are able to see what is happening. But this country has never been in a situation like the way it is.
Okay, but maybe
let's continue praying for the mother Zambia and PF. Let's continue being strong because God is with us. This is a peaceful country.
Can I ask a question before you leave?
Yeah, you can ask.
If at all police officers did not protect the secretariat of the PF that day, and then we had, the faction for Mr. Given Luvinda and former president go there, and then another faction from Mr. Mausampa go there, what could have happened?
That's a very good question. The faction is called a faction. Me, as a member of PF, now I'm telling you, I'm a member of PF from Chilanga.
Okay.
Our leaders in PF are given Ruinda, Nakachinda, and these are the people of the rest of the command for the rest of the country. Mao Sampa is only him and Chawinga. And Chawinga, we don't know him to be PF, he's UPND. So that secretariat, if you have been following the situation, we have been holding meetings there. So as PF, when Mao Sampa went there to destroy the secretariat, PF did not go there. And the Soko was asking the same spokesperson for the police. But when Mao Sampa was destroying the PF secretariat, where was the police? If we need peace. PF didn't go there to go and disturb and attack the Mao Sampa. They finished whatever they were doing. So, us, we are not there to fight, but we are there to demonstrate that we need, and we are doing away with that terrorism which was happening, which is happening in UPND now. So, the question is, even if Mao Sampa was at the secretariat, we could have not done anything, because we don't want chaos. We know the rules and the constitution of the party is to go to the convention. And coming back of His Excellency, Edgar Chagwarungu, it's not a problem. He has a mandate. And the laws have said he is eligible to stand in 2026. So is it UPND to deny him to come back? It's the Zambian people. And Zambian people are seeing what is happening in Parliament. That speaker is not fit to be a speaker of the National Assembly. Thank you so much.
Mr. Msonda, thank you so much for that contribution. That is Mr. Msonda calling us, of course, from one of the districts, Kafue, right here in the province. So that was some of the comments that we've gotten from our callers this morning. Others have expressed or disappointment in the way things are being done. And then we also had another caller who said, it's the duty of police officers to actually maintain law and order. Imagine if police officers were not there, what could have been happening in the country could have been a worse situation. It is the responsibility of police to protect every citizen and, of course, to maintain law and order. So different opinions there are coming from people. Every opinion on this particular program is respected as long as it's not to do with insults, of course. Hello, good morning. Good morning. We don't quite shine. Mr. Kapia Joseph, I can hear you, though your line is a bit bad. It keeps cutting, but I can hear you.
Yeah? Hello?
I can hear you, but your line is breaking. Hello?
Hello?
Mr. Kapia, apo mudi apo. Kuti mwasera kofye pa no fia mshonga mwasera ko pa no pa another angle. I'll be able to get you clearly.
And then let's talk about PF.
Mkwai.
PF. Why? Everybody appreciate.
Hello? Mr. Kapia, your line is pretty bad. Okay, I'm sure we'll have to cut that call so that we give the caller an opportunity to just call again, and we will be able to respond to that. But of course, I know we are running out of time and we should be moving into the conversation this morning. So before we do that, let's zoom into this story that made headline yesterday, where Opposition Patriotic Front President Mal Sampa has actually challenged the validity of embattled leader of the opposition in Parliament, Brian Mondewilo's legal action, where he has challenged the election as party president. It's like, hello, good morning.
Okay. Hello, Washington.
Bueno mkwai wadishani.
Yes, yeah, we know.
Mkwai.
And then you have a person in the possession, charity, so we're not done there. That's what you got for Unima, Tuarima, Imputa, Tuaviala, 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 Tiambo, Kumena. Usando minha questão para responder, eu só por isso vai bombar. Bambo, quando começa um pouco de bambo cara. Você tem esse Cristo aí chile, aí já tem muito possível de bambo cara. E fica sempre no processo. O processo já charo, já bati, se esse uma coisa vai panga. Ele tem na chuva de no bati. Ngabambo como tem que deixar para bomba. Tenda tuisumirisha bapolitician bona olutende wacharo yo bantu abengi bali mu kuranda with their own interest no bakati business nayo naika ikyo ko bali sasa kiri kwa bantu batinda bali batema koketa kwezi no bakufunganya baba inchushe churira mu business na mwawe sasa bali mabada bose mwawe reke sasa ngota ya business bali sasa bali interest kayo chenda bali kwata Chimocha watu waleru shauri ndama kwa pansho ambo kwa datu wana mumuna kwenye wisa. Tika mchatu wa polisi wa teta, piko ite problemu hawa. Na wakuchana watu kwa tete, wasapoti, warandi ya sisi ya chishinga, wete chongo mchalo yo. Bantu pio tawa polisi ya nilama waposini pati wambi, kasileva timo, kasileva spite, mwatuwele sana, kuda teta problemu. Ufita kufualika. Ufiwona ule timu. Gente, ande gashinga noenda na waruchiani wala government state barande kwa waruchieni. Ngabare bomba bwe barande kwa yo babwi. Na bena kuchiani ndabo tete akorana. Leka rezi. Ngana batika banda barande kwa wachiya kuchibona ganda kwa nchushi. No teweke problem mu chushi yo. Bati nchushi shifira mo. Esho naika. Yena bakabutu kwa bateni yoto kwa batama teke. Na bakufuka kai. Imona kwa shwede na majinga kwa kira. So tegengwa kuchiya weto mtendo charo. Na wazetu mtena kuna mtu ngoshu wetu ngura kwa kiasi pesa chepanda. Eso no suele ser por ahí.
Sir, thank you so much for that particular contribution. I like when he says, most of the times, our colleagues who've got money, they'll fuel, confusion. And once they do that, when you start fighting them, they run away because they have the resources. And then us, we don't even have manjingas and bicycles, are the ones usually who pay the price for this. So do not allow confusion in the country. Let's protect the peace that we've enjoyed. In the previous years, we were crying to say police officers are not working because they are being controlled by cadres. Now that police officers are working, we are again crying. So that is according to the previous caller that we had. So let's just zoom into the Mondubile Sampa story, where Mr. Sampa, through his lawyers, has argued that paragraph in the plaintiff's statement of claim disobeys previous court orders. So what is happening in this particular incident is that actually Mr. Brian Mondubile has sued Mr. Sampa before the courts of law, but Mr. Sampa also has written to the court of law saying, the decision by Mr. Mondubile to take legal action and questioning his election is not validity. Let's zoom into this story and also take a short breather as we allow our guests just to settle in this morning.
As courts slowly turn into battlegrounds for the opposition Patriotic Front amid its leadership dispute within the party, the second and third defendants, Mayo Sampa and Morgan Ngona, along with the Registrar of Societies, have responded to the plaintiff Brian Mondubile legal action contesting the claims made by Mr. Mondubile and challenging the validity of his case. The defendants argue that the context of several paragraphs in the plaintiff's statements of claim disobey previous court orders, including an interim injunction granted by Judge Katenekwa on February 9, 2023, and a subsequent order discharging an interim injunction granted to Mr. Raphael Nakachinda on October 25, 2023. The Mao Sampa side maintains that there are currently no legal restrictions preventing them from holding their respective position within the PF party. Mr. Sampa also indicates in his response that there is no illegality in their actions, particularly in their roles within the party, and suggests that any financial issues related to election funds should be pursued against those responsible for managing such funds rather than targeting them. He also argues that Mr. Mondubile's allegations regarding the PF presidency are misplaced, given that he willingly chose not to attend an extraordinary convention held on October 24, 2023, according to a response filed before the court by Mr. Sampa's lawyers. J&M Advocates claims that Mr. Mondubile's legal action is an attempt to revise issues already before the court in the Nakachinda case. The defendant contends that Mr. Mondubile's entire legal action is frivolous, vexatious, and an abuse of the court process, as it repeats allegations already under consideration by the court in another case. Mr. Sampa highlights that Mr. Mondubile and Nakachinda are part of the same political camp, making it questionable for Mr. Mondubile to sue Nakachinda while seemingly acting in Nakachinda's interest. The defendants also maintain that the restraining orders sought by Mr. Mondubile are no longer applicable, as their positions within the party have already been confirmed. As such, the PF and its affiliates are under their control. Yesterday, Wednesday, 1st November 2023, the Mporokoso lawmaker sued Mayo Sampa, Morgan Ngona, and the Registrar of Societies, seeking, among other reliefs, the declaration that the first defendant, Raphael Nakachinda, is the duly appointed Secretary General of the opposition Patriotic Front, not Morgan Ngona, and that Mayo Sampa was expelled and is no longer a member of the party. Mr. Mondubile also pleaded with the court to issue a restraining order against Mr. Sampa and his associates, as he fears for an expulsion from the party. Nelson Zulu for Camnet News, Lusaka. As courts slowly turn into battlegrounds for the opposition Patriotic Front amid its leadership dispute within the party, the second and third defendants, Mayo Sampa and Morgan Ngona, along with the Registrar of Societies, have responded to the plaintiff Brian Mondubile legal action contesting the claims made by Mr. Mondubile and challenging the validity of his case. The defendants argue that the context of several paragraphs in the plaintiff's statements of claim disobey previous court orders, including an interim injunction granted by Judge Katenekwa on February 9, 2023, and a subsequent order discharging an interim injunction granted to Mr. Raphael Nakachinda on October 25, 2023, the Mao Sampa side maintains that there are currently no legal restrictions preventing them from holding their respective position.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Get all the latest updates in court news only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication. Those have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Thank you so much for still staying tuned to Camnet TV. Remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel. I know there are quite a number of calls that have been coming through while we went on a break. I know this particular topic is of great interest to the country, and what is happening around cannot go unnoticed. So thank you so much for those who called. But at this particular time, we are going to dive into the conversation this morning, a little bit away from politics, and looking at, business. Of course, Friday is for business. We feed on business. And of course, we are looking at a topic, does cooperative models work in the mining sector? So that is the topic that we are watching this morning. I know a lot of anger with regards to those in the opposition with what is happening around, but also remember, the country needs to make resources. We need to progress. We want to see you, the people of Zambia, out there become giant miners, become business owners, breakthrough on the international market. And we can only do that if at all we begin to participate, not just to fight each other with pangas, but begin to participate in the mineral wealth of this country. So this program, this particular segment, has been brought to us courtesy of the Federation of Small-Scale Miners Association of Zambia, who we have been hosting every Friday because they have taken up these particular slots for this segment. So in studio this morning, I am joined by the Vice President of the Association of the Federation of Small-Scale Miners of Zambia, Madam Pauline Mundia, who's of course not alone in set. We are also joined by the Secretary of the Federation of Small-Scale Miners Association, Mr. Matford Mumba. Sir, Madam, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
It's good you are joining us on set this morning. I know, Mr. Mumba, for you, I'm hosting you for the first time. But Madam Mundia, we've had quite a number of conversations on the show.
Yes, yes.
And it's good to see you back.
Thank
looking
you.
Young as always, forever sweet. And of course, she's putting on nice jewelry there. If you see what she's putting on the neck, did not fall from heaven. They had to mine these beautiful colorless, stones. It's actually an honor to know that, we have these things in our own country that can actually contribute to the mineral wealth. But what we need is, of course, for people to participate in the mining of minerals in the country. But also, we know there is a turn of event. There is, on a side note, I can call it on a side note, Madam Mundia, where various small-scale miners have been found by the Ministry of Mines for non-compliance. And among those funds, others have been made to pay 270 kwacha, while others have been made to pay 90 kwacha, others 180, and then others have been slapped with multiple charges, meaning they have to pay quite a lot of money, failure to which they'll have those mines grabbed from them. Last week I did host the Federation President here, Pastor Mwansa, who we had quite a lengthy discussion about these particular issues, but also maybe just in this particular week, Madam Mondia, let me start with you. Just give us a brief on how these charges slapped on the small-scale miners is currently affecting them. Just a small brief. Okay, Stephen, before you talk about how they are affecting you, just give me an update. What has happened in this particular week so far? Is there any move that has been made?
No, it's really, we are still waiting for the Ministry of Mines to get back to us. Yes, we wrote to them a letter, so we are still waiting for them to give us. Of course, we believe we are going to get a positive response.
You are very optimistic.
Yes.
So just tell us, just briefly, before we look at the cooperative model that we are discussing this morning, I just want to get a brief from you with regards to these current happenings. How are they actually affecting you as small-scale miners?
Most of our members actually negatively affected by these charges, because one, these charges are unaffordable. Yes, and they have come at a time, you know, when a lot of our members are actually recovering from the pandemic.
The COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes, it affected everybody, because during that time there were no operations that were going on, and also there were no buyers that were coming in because there was restriction in movement. So production was affected, marketing was affected, so the whole process was affected. So we expected the government to be more lenient, you know, considering the effects of COVID.
Of course. Let me move to you, Mr. Mumba. How is this charge being slapped on the small-scale miners affecting you? But even before you respond to that, I would like to know, are you a miner? What are you mining? People can be wondering to say, is the secretary of the Federation of Small-Scale Miners, is he a miner, and what is he mining? Just an inspiration. Perhaps maybe we can inspire a lot of young people out there who wish to take part in this mineral wealth of the country.
Me as a Federation for Small-Scale Miners, Secretary General, I have a mine in Rondaz.
Wow.
We are mining aquamarine. We have been mining since 1994. At the same time, we do value addition.
Okay.
We do produce the earrings, the necklaces, and the most famous, yes I do, engagement rings. Yes, we do that.
Wow.
We do the value addition.
You've got machinery?
We have got some, you know, appropriate machinery around here in Osaka. Although some people have actually come to us. We have been, at one time we were operating from showgrounds. Yeah, but now we are in Cairo Road where we are operating from.
People don't even know that the jewelry that they wear actually is coming from you and the mine where you mine. It's actually a motivation. Here you are seeing Mr. Mumba is not a small boy. He's lived for quite some time on it and he's still going to the grounds to get mineral wealth from there. What is stopping you, the young people seated there, to equally do the same? This particular program is brought to you courtesy of the Federation of Small-Scale Miners Association of Zambia, and we are here to ensure that we promote you, the young people, to take part in the mining of the mineral wealth. So you can continue, Mr. Mumba, talking about how now these charges slapped on you by government is actually affecting you and your members. You particularly as a miner, I know you've mentioned the fact that you're mining, and I know where you're mining, there are quite a number of people who are equally doing the same, including your members.
Yes, yes. You see, the only problem with the small-scale mining, you see, most of these laws that are being implemented by the government, they were, you see, they are tailored to large scale. And the small-scale miners, they just fit in. They are not compatible with the aspirations of the people. like some of these laws, you find that they are not so friendly to the small scale miner. They are only targeting to the large scale. Now, for the small scale miner to fit in is very difficult. Like you see, when they say you have to have ZEMA, a ZEMA report. You know, ZEMA report, it takes a lot of time to produce, and you are supposed to engage a consultant. Now, for a small scale miner, to engage a consultant, it's quite expensive. Most of them, they are not able to engage a consultant. You find that most of these small scale miners, they operate in the rural areas. You see? The rural areas, you know, most of them, they are not so much conversant with the environmental issues. There's no training for those people in the rural areas to do the ZEMA. At times you find that within the areas where those mines are, in the rural areas, there's ZAWA there. You find that, you know, ZAWA has got three zones. There's the game park, where it's a no-go area. That one everybody knows. Then there is the area out of the game park. The next is a red zone. And from there, there's a developmental zone. In developmental zone, that's where you can mine. At times, you find that the same law, even if it's a developmental zone, the ZAWA people want you to write a project proposal in that development zone, but the parliament already had approved that zone to say it is a zone for development.
It's fit for mining.
Yeah, it's fit for mining, but still more. You are required to go to ZAWA and get permission and all that. Now we find that somebody from Kaputa to come here and get an approval is very difficult.
Is this maybe one of the reasons why we are seeing, you know, less people or less of the youths even participating in mining because of, you know, all these things that are attached to the laws of mining, especially for small-scale miners?
Very much sure, very much so. Because, you know, it's very difficult for a person from the rural area to travel up here, spend so many days just chasing an approval for him to go and start mining. It's very difficult.
Then also we've heard people argue to say the fact that you're doing mining means you're making money. So how can you say, no, we cannot afford to pay, you know, a consultant or pay ZEMA when you're mining, you're actually making money?
There's an instruction there. You don't mine until until you conform to all the
stipulated regulations.
Yes, the regulations. There are a lot of regulations there. They look very simple. On paper, they look very simple. Because for you to complete all those regulations, you need a lot of money actually. About 250,000, 300,000, can you see? That's why we find that there's a lot of unformalized mining. Can you see? Yes. Those are the conditions that are attached to those licenses are the ones which create actually the illegal mining. Yes.
Very sad there. Madam Mundia, how do you think some of, you know, these conditions by government can be handled to ensure that they make life easier for small-scale miners?
I think the most important thing is to start with the mining policy. Yeah, because when we look at the present mining policy, I would say that is not ASM user friendly. To start with, is that when you look at our current mining policy, it only talks about promotion of ASM. ASM is artisanal small-scale mining activities. See? But then it does not talk about support. We appreciate the promotion that the government is giving to the indigenous because they're providing an enabling environment for the locals, to have the mining licenses. Though the process of having the mining licenses are very, very difficult, but some people manage to get the license. And the purpose of getting the license is for the government to make it possible for them to regulate the activities of the ASM. But that is not enough. Our cry and our main concern as the Federation of Small Scale Mining Association is the support, because support includes the development of these mining activities for the ASM. So what activities are there? There are no activities, there are no programs, there are no initiatives to develop the ASM. Because when we're talking about developing the ASM, we are looking at mechanization. You know, the government has said that there is need, to improve the production of copper. It is 3 million metric tons. Yes.
2031.
Yes. But then as ASM, also we want to contribute to that figure. But then it is difficult for us to contribute to that figure because our operations are not mechanized. And number two, there is no market. Then the other thing is that there is no initiative for training, because these people that are involved in ASM, they need to train how to training in health and training also in safety. Even the environmental issues that Mr. Mumba is talking about, that training is continual. But with the present mining policy, it's just at promotion. But anyway, I try, and we are still engaging the government that there is need for them now to also support, because once they support, then they will see that the Zambians are actually fully empowered. Because the purpose of coming up with allowing the locals to be involved in mining is to empower them economically, because that is our cry. Yeah. Because the ASM can be equivalent to peasant farmers. The peasant farmers, they are there, they produce maize. And whatever maize is produced, it is consumed locally. So even with the ASM, if they're empowered, so whatever money will be within the country. Nothing will go out. Because the ASM do not have the capacity to have to maintain offshore accounts.
Let me come to you, Madam Mundia, before I can move to Mr. Mumba. On this particular fund, which has been issued to your members, have you, do you think there is any hope for dialogue? I know you've said you've written to the Ministry of Mines over this particular issue, but you've not had any response. And the time frame in which you were given to pay this money has elapsed. And government did indicate to say, when this time frame elapses and people do not pay for those mines, we are going to, grab them from them. So do you think there is hope for dialogue with the government so far, looking at the way things are moving?
Yes, I can say that there's room for dialogue, because if there's no room for dialogue, by now, the government could have cancelled, but then they have not cancelled because there's actually room. Yes, because I believe that we have got very good collaboration with the Ministry of Mines, and we are hoping that something fruitful, tangible will come out of this. Because there's no way the government can just give us a deaf ear. No, we know that we have a listening government, and many times we have cried to the government, and they have listened to us because they know the impediments that are there. See, so only until those impediments, are sorted out, I can assure you, Patricia, that the cry of all these penalties, the issue of non-compliance, it will not be there, because we are trying to tell the government to say, yes, we are obliged to comply, but then we should also realize that there are reasons why we are not able to comply. So the best thing is let the government address the issues that are stopping us to comply.
Very important point there. Let me move to you, Mr. Mumba, and let's move to the topic that we are discussing this morning. In case you're just tuning in to Camnet TV, this particular segment of the breakfast show on Friday is brought to you courtesy of the Federation of Small-Scale Miners Association of Zambia, and the main purpose is we want to promote a lot of people to engage in the mining sector. And of course, we want to speak to the lawmakers for them to listen to some of the challenges that this particular sector faces. These are artisanal small-scale miners. And how is it that they can be addressed in order to improve mining in the country? So I hope these conversations we've been having, not just today, but even in these previous weeks, have made a difference in the way you view mining in this country. If Madam Mundia here can be a miner and she owns a mine, same as Mr. Mumba, what is stopping you from equally doing the same? So this is why this morning now we are discussing, does the cooperative model work in the mining sector? So moving to you, Mr. Mumba, let's talk about the topic today, cooperative in mining. What are cooperatives and how do they work? Just in case someone is wondering, when we talk about cooperative, I know a lot of people have come to know about them under the UPND administration because there is this model that has been promoted in CDF. But the question we are asking is, this model, does it work in the mining sector? So what is a cooperative and how do these cooperatives work actually? Just to give us a brief on that.
Okay, thank you for that question. And a cooperative is a group of people with the same ideas who come together and promote what they want to do. Maybe it could be in mining. In most cases, most people just want to know about agriculture cooperatives. But there's even
the most famous one, form a cooperative and get missing fertilizer.
Yes.
And I know a lot of people have come to know about that. I don't know if it's because it has so much been promoted by government, where they say we'll give you fertilizer.
Yes.
Maybe that's why that one has been promoted. But in the mining sector,
yeah, it can also work. You know, the government has been registering cooperatives throughout the country. And, you know, they have done so well in registering cooperatives for mining. There is a window there for the mining cooperatives. They get all the associations that have registered as cooperatives to have them registered for mining in the mining sector. We have a section at Cadastre, which is actually dealing with the cooperatives. So the government has registered quite a number of cooperatives throughout the country. And these cooperatives actually, they're quite, you know, they are starting very well. There are quite a lot of them. And the headquarters at the ministry, there's Mr. Chewe, who's the director of mines. He has specifically involved himself. He has gone around the whole country registering the cooperatives. So since it is a new concept, I think it will work on very well. With the CDF funds, I think most of them are accessing the CDF fund, though it is not all that well organized. I think if it is well organized, it can be quite a viable.
So cooperatives, like, how do they function? You were just explaining about what cooperatives are, but how do they actually work?
The cooperatives actually, when they come together, they have their own bylaws. They have to follow the bylaws. That is their constitution. They will come together and make the bylaws and register within the cooperatives in the areas where they are. Yes. So those they can be 10. The minimum is 10. They can be, there is no maximum. Anyone can join, as long as he is also part and parcel of that idea which has been formulated within that group. Yes.
Madam Mundia, cooperatives in the mining sector, do they actually work? I know Mr. Mumba has spoken to the fact that, you know, with the coming in of CDF, we've seen quite a number of cooperatives being registered, but maybe just in the past, have we seen cooperatives actually in the mining sectors work?
Mr. Mumba has already mentioned that cooperatives in the mining sector is a new concept. You know, it is something that has been discussed even at global level. Yes. It's not only cooperatives here in Zambia, but all over, wherever ASM mining activities are taking place, because they believe that that's the only way that the locals can be empowered, and once the cooperatives are formed, it can reduce what other people term illegal miners, or maybe for the better term I would say the unformalized. So the formation of cooperative, it is a way of introducing formalization in the subsector of ASM.
So in the past, we didn't see a lot of cooperatives in
No,
the
in the past, it was not there. Yes.
It was just one man for himself.
One man for himself. Yes. But then they all discovered at SADC level, African Union, even globally, that the only way, we can increase formalization is to form cooperatives, because cooperative, all you need is to have 10 people who are going to manage the cooperative, and then you can have as many members as possible. So it is something like, which is applicable even at village setup. The whole village can come together and form a cooperative if they discover a mineral in their area. So that way, once the cooperatives are formed, then it will be very easy for the government to regulate the mining activities, even at that micro level. See? And once that is done, the government now can come up maybe with some initiatives of helping them. But then our concern is that if the government really wants to see these cooperatives to be effective, then they have to be treated just like the agriculture cooperatives. The agriculture cooperative, there is an incentive. Form a cooperative, and the incentive is FISIP. But then for the mining, what incentive is there? We are forming a cooperative. Form a cooperative, yes. So if there's an incentive, we'll say, okay, if I want to form the cooperative, we help you with equipment, there's market for you, there's training for you. I can assure you a lot of people will form a cooperative. But then what is the carrot that is done in there? That's what people are looking at.
Very interesting. You talked about the aspect where, people have to form cooperatives and them being promoted by the government, just like the way they've treated agriculture, as one way of improving this particular sector. But I know government has also mentioned the fact that form cooperatives and apply resources under the constituency development funds, and those pricing sometimes differ. Yes, let me move to you, Mr. Momba, before I come to Madam Ondia. Do you think resources that government offer under CDF are enough to support cooperatives in the mining sector? Because when I heard Madam Ondia speak about, empower us with equipment, I don't think the 20,000, the 50,000 that they sometimes give these cooperatives can be effective for the mining sector. So if they had to form these cooperatives under CDF, because also argument has been under CDF there is money, do you think the money that is being given under CDF is actually enough to support cooperatives in the mining sector?
Yeah, that's a very good question. CDF is not enough. It's just like a startup. You can do it as a startup. But you need to have a certain program to actually assist the cooperatives to do their business. In fact, we have been engaging the government, if at all they can make some plant hire scheme in these areas where the cooperatives are working. Could it be in Mumbwa, in Rondazi, in Mpika? There must be some plant hire scheme where the cooperatives can be actually hiring the equipment so that they go and work on their mine at a certain fee. And again, like what Madam Ndia was saying, like the way the FISIP is working, there could be some certain incentives within the cooperatives. Go and mine. You see, the cooperatives are working in the rural areas. They are actually mitigating the poverty levels. There's so much poverty levels in the rural areas. the cooperatives are the ones which can actually address the poverty levels in the rural areas. Because when you have maybe about 10 people employing some of those members within the community, there's a lot of employment generated within the area. When you generate a lot of employment, there's a lot of, some small little money that they make from the mining which they're doing in the rural area there. Yes.
Interesting there. Madam Mondia, let me move to you. Financing these, cooperatives in terms of resources under CDF. Just like the question that I asked to Mr. Mumba, should there be a fund that should specifically be set up for small-scale miners, away from, the much talks about CDF?
I think before I answer your question, I just want to inform the public that when we talk about mining is not like any other business. Mining is both capital and labor intensive. At whatever level. Because in farming, I can farm maybe with my 3 children and get something. But in mining, you need more than that. So now the issue of cooperative is a good thing because the members themselves would actually do the mining. So there might not be any need of probably employing other people to do the mining. But the issue here is the equipment. The CDF money is not enough because the equipment of mine is very, very expensive, whether it is a pick or shovel, because the price of a pick is not the same price for the whole. So just like what Mr. Mumba has alluded to, we need some kind of plant hire. And we have seen the government greatly using Zambia National Service, to sort out the milling. And the Zambia National Service is everywhere in the country. And they have equipment. They manage actually some kind of equipment. And this type of equipment is used by farmers, to do the dams. So if the government, can just have a deliberate policy to use the Zambia National Service and then manage that plant hire scheme so that the people that have formed cooperatives can hire the equipment from the National Service, because then it is affordable, much affordable. When you hire the equipment from these other private companies, it's very, very unaffordable because we are talking about $150 per hour. Yes, who can afford? Because when you are talking about cooperatives, these are people in the villages. Can they afford that kind of amount? But if the government can utilize the Zambia National Service, then it will be very easy. Because we are looking at productivity here. Yes, the government has provided that enabling environment for the cooperative to access licenses. And I can also, I'm proud to say that recently there are a number of licenses, mining licenses that were approved for cooperatives. But then what next? What next? They'll have a piece of paper given to them. Then what next? See? So the next thing that they need now, they'll still be looking up to the government to say, what incentive now? We need some help from you. We need to mine, because what we are mining is not enough. Manual kind of operation is very inadequate. It cannot take you anywhere. Much as we appreciate that maybe to give you money, food on the table, but then food on the table is not enough.
It becomes hand to mouth.
Yes, it becomes hand to mouth. But then we are trying to look beyond food on the table. because we are also looking at the issue of graduation, that from a cooperative, then you should graduate and form now a company.
We've seen less of, our own local people owning big mining companies.
Yes. And then from a small scale, then you go to large scale. We are looking at that. The issue of graduating, that is our interest, because we cannot continue being there. And it's only the government that can help us if they come up with very good initiatives and programs to develop the ASM.
Very interesting there. I know earlier on, Madam Ondia, when you were discussing about, these funds, you did speak to the aspect of market accessibility. This brings me to this question. You are, of course, requesting for government to see how is it that they can fund you in order to increase production. But the question that we are asking is, if you increase production, where do you plan to take your minerals? What is the market like in the country? Because producing is one thing. Market accessibility equally becomes another thing. Mr. Mumba, let's talk about market accessibilities for the minerals. I know you are mining aquamarine, and how is the market like? So if you were to increase production, where would you take the minerals?
That's a big question, that one. Because most people have been mining, the small scale miners. The little that have been mining, there is no market around. There's no market within here. They only go outside the country to go and market their products. At times you find that it's very expensive to go out and market their products. Within here, it's not there. But the government now is working out some marketing points where someone can produce and go and sell to those markets. But they are not yet functional. In fact, it's because of the new phenomenon of these cooperatives and all that. Within where there are those cooperatives, that's where they are making now the markets.
Okay.
But it doesn't yet come up to...
But if the market is not so much and then you increase production, don't you think again it will be a cost on your part as small-scale miners?
Yes, it will be a cost on the part of a small-scale miner. But there is an acceleration program for this, like the lithium, the manganese, the famous switchlight. The market can be found around here. People can come around and buy the switchlight, but now they have closed.
The ones that can give you money, they say, okay, for
closed.
now you can't mine.
We
are coming up with a policy, and it has even taken longer.
That's what she was saying. The policies are not compatible to the aspirations of the people. You see, especially the small-scale miners. The large scale have got their own permanent market outside. They will produce, process, and then sell.
They've got friends.
They've got, yes.
They've got friends out there.
Yes,
so when they come here, they even know that I'm going to mine that because I'll be selling it to my friend in Europe or in England.
You, even if you have got copper here, where do you sell it? They won't, even if the large-scale miner wants to get that copper ore, it will be very cheap. Because they know that you won't sell it anywhere. Can you see? So we are quite in a big problem. There's no proper program within the government how to assist the small-scale miners. There's no proper program whatsoever, actually. You can go to the ministry there, what program have you put in place? Apart from flooding the whole area with the licenses. It's very easy to get a license, 900 kwacha. Very cheap, and very affordable. But within that license, the conditions, they look very simple. But when you start implementing, you say, is that so? They say you get permission from Zawa, you get permission from Zema.
You find that you have looked everything, even before you start the actual mining.
Can you see? You find that you have got maybe 10 or 15 approvals that you should get.
And at the end, you even regret having gotten a license in the first place.
That's the problem now, where the default comes in. Because you cannot meet all those conditions. That's where the the default comes in, because a small-scale miner cannot do all those things. Get a permission from the chief. If the chief doesn't like you, you just sit on your request. You go to Zawa, they can't give you. They say, no, this side, you cannot go this side. It's quite a big problem. We need a better mining policy to meet the aspirations of the locals, because the locals are the ones who create employment in the rural areas. And there's a lot of minerals around that dotted across, like the famous gold. It's all over.
It's like it's everywhere.
Gold is everywhere.
Everywhere we are stepping, if we are just to do an investigation, there is gold.
You go to Mumbai, the whole Mumbai is scattered with gold. But immediately you find that the people are just, I don't know what I can describe it. You go to Mansa, manganese is all over and switch light, but you can't because of the legal framework.
That is attached to us. Madam November, I would like to find out where. Pardon me, Madam Mundia. I don't know why Madam Mary November is on my mind today. Madam Mundia, where do you sell the minerals that you mine?
There is no market actually. So the ASM have to look for market. At the moment, they are brokers. Or we call them middlemen. These are people that sell the minerals on behalf of the miners. You can imagine you are a miner. If somebody just comes to you to say, there's somebody who has come to who has come to buy the minerals. Is it gemstones or whatever? But then you, with the producer, you are not allowed to see, you know,
who the buyer is.
Who the buyer is. Yes.
And I thought, let me see the quality that you have.
Say, this the quality.
I can give you this at
50 cents per barrel. This material, how much are you looking for? Okay, maybe 50,000 or 100,000. And then you go there to sell at 150,000. But you will not come back to you to tell you I sold at 150,000, and then you will ask for a 10% commission
from what they've even sold,
yes,
on top of what they've
yes.
put in.
So the ASM are actually so desperate, so they can accept anything. So what we have done as a federation, we have engaged the government on the need of coming up with a policy on marketing, which is very, very important, because there's no way you can develop ASM without one, funding, training, and then finally marketing. There's no marketing mechanism of any kind at the moment, but all I hear that they are trying to provide, once the Mineral Commission is established probably next year, then there's going to be marketing only for gold. But then the question is it only gold that is mined by ASM? The answer is the ASM, like this cooperative, they mine so many things. It's gemstones, copper, and gold. Then what happens to those cooperatives or ASM that are involved in other minerals other than gold? So we are still urging the government that they really have to look at the issue of marketing, because once marketing mechanism which is appropriate, when we are talking about marketing mechanism, we need something that is appropriate, something that is user-friendly for the ASM. Once that is put in place, I can assure you the issue of compliance will be past non-compliant.
We will not be sitting and discussing non-compliance.
No, because we have money. Because what is making it impossible for people to comply, they have no money, there is no market. And we have been asking the government to say that, why can't you establish even a marketing center? A marketing center, and make it a one-stop shop. In that marketing center, put a provision for where people can come and sell their minerals, and then put also, you know, the ZRA to be under the same roof. Then the Ministry of Mines who provide the valuation certificate or actually value, let them be under this, and also the bank. Then that way, even the export documentation process, you know, will be something that will be manageable. Because at the moment, if somebody has to export, like somebody from Wapula, you have to come all the way here. That's why it can be valued. Yes.
And that's already cost. You've started cost even before you can export.
It's a cost.
And accommodation, you pay everything.
That is your baby. That is your baby. And yet we are small. We are locals. We are locals. And the locals actually need to be helped. The large scale, where they come from, they are helped. They come here with the money that they get from their own countries to come and make more money for themselves. So we expect even our government to do the same. Because eventually we'll also be going, you know, to other countries to make money from those countries and bring the money into Zambia.
Do you think maybe this lack of one-stop shop where now anyone can just come in and trade on what we call a black market has also been a limiting factor as to why most of these small-scale miners have failed to break through to the international market?
Yes, no. You know, the international market is not easy. For one to break into the international market, you should have the marketing intelligence. And we don't have any institution that's able to provide the marketing intelligence. Because sometimes, let's say, you are mining amethyst, or you are mining, let me just talk about gemstones. You are mining maybe aquamarine. And then in that particular period, when you attend a trade fair, maybe the color that is in demand is not green. Maybe it could be blue. And you go with the green, which is the emerald, you will not sell, there will be no demand. See, that's what the problem is. And then number two, when you go out there, you need to spend money in advertising yourself, because people are only comfortable to buy from somebody whom they have a history about, some knowledge. Number three, there's also the issue of traceability. They want to know, where is this product coming from? Who is mining it? What is the journey of this product? And then the other point is, it is expensive for one to travel. No, international traveling is very expensive. And when you go there, you have to look for accommodation. So for one now to go there and you don't have proper market intelligence, you come back without even selling 1 kg or even a gram. And then how do you recover all the expenses that you have incurred? So the best way to encourage or to develop ASM is to have the market in country.
Very important submission there. I can tell that you will really have, you know, these brilliant ideas about how this sector can actually break through. I just hope some of these particular intelligent information can actually be adopted there. We could make Zambia a better place than we currently are. And I know issues of access to financing is equally one impediment. But I know if miners do have the resources, it can be easy to actually produce enough minerals to bring enough forex into the country. I'm even wondering, Madam Mondia, why we always talk about, you know, lack of forex when we have all these minerals dotted around in the country. But maybe as we come to the dying end of the program, Mr. Mumba, let me give you a chance to give us your concluding remarks.
My concluding remarks is that I think the means of mines and minerals. You see, since they are now reviewing the Mines and Minerals Act, we have presented our issues that relates to small-scale miners. It's our hope that as a federation, they will take up what we submitted to the Mines and Minerals Act review. I hope they will do that. And at the same time, you see, like the government, should look at the small-scale miners, because small-scale miners are within the communities. That's where they are operating from. They have to look at the, how they can build the small-scale miner through the cooperatives. The government has done very well to introduce the cooperatives. In fact, they are giving them the upper hand for licenses. You see? All the cooperatives, there's no cooperative who have been rejected unless there is something very serious. Yes. Most of the cooperatives have been given licenses. But now it's to, to support, to promote, like our Vice President has said, to promote those small-scale miners within the rural areas, because they are creating employment in the rural areas. Yes. Because there's no any other company that has gone into the rural area to go and set up a company. They're all in Lusaka, in Kitwe, and all that. But the small-scale miners are deep in the rural areas, because it's them who actually discover those minerals. There's no geologists who went into Mumba to go and, it's the small-scale miners. There's no one who went into Mansa. There's no geologist who went to Mansa to say, here's manganese, come here and start. No, they discover themselves.
Interesting there. Your concluding remarks, madam.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just want to, to appreciate, what the government is doing by bringing up the concept of cooperative. It is it's a good idea, and also the need for them to prioritize licensing to the cooperatives. But then our cry as a federation is that yes, the licenses have been given, but then there is need also to provide some kind of incentive so that these cooperatives can achieve what they intend to achieve. Because number one achievement is reduce poverty in their communities. And then number two, make sure that they live well, just good living. Build good houses for themselves. We appreciate that education is free, yes, but then universities is not free. Because once they have money, then they'll be able to educate their children, and some of their children might even end up working for the big mines or having their own big mines as children. But then the other very good point is that the more cooperatives are formed and the licenses are given, and if there is actually appropriate incentive, I can assure you, Patricia, that these same cooperatives will be able to contribute significantly to the production of copper, to all the minerals. Even that target of 3 million, yes, there can be a lot of contribution from the ASM. Because we are everywhere. Every village there's
miners.
Yes, and in Zambia everywhere there are minerals. Almost in every village there's some kind of mineral. So all we need is for the government, if possible, since Zambia is a country that is so rich in minerals, let them come up with the need of having an indaba for ASM. We have the indaba in South Africa for the large scale mines. But then let Zambia now introduce an indaba for the ASM. Because the indaba is what is going to help both ourselves and the government, to come up with the best way of developing this sector. Mind you, this sector has got the potential to become the chief cornerstone of rural economic development. Because most of the activities are carried out in the rural areas.
Of course.
Because once, the rural development is driven by the ASM, One, it's going to reduce the influx of villagers going to town. Why should somebody going to town to look for employment if the employment is just within the locality? And there will also be creation of other industries, within the community. So even I can see that there might even be some kind of what do you call it, pre-urbanization. So the villages that we know as villages, there will be that development, improvement. Even these thatch houses that we see, they will no longer be there. There will be some kind of pre-urban kind of
to see grass houses, and we say this is actually in the village. But anyway, this is where we have to conclude our program this morning. There's something, Madam Mundia, that you've said that is still lingering around in my mind, and that's when you talk about the aspect of we want to see, a lot of Zambians own big houses, take their children to university and be able to pay. I think this issue of having to line up for bursaries and people protesting all the time when few people are awarded bursaries will come to an end, because we'll have quite a number of parents who can afford paying their children for university. Then you've also spoken about the aspect of building big houses. It really breaks my heart when I walk through Kamwala or Emersdale, for those who are in Lusaka. You would agree with me that our friends who've got money have bought our houses that were owned by our parents, our mothers and brothers. They've been sent in far-flagged areas, and then they've built very nice mansions there. And we pass sometimes around that we are looking and we're saying, these guys have got money, they've built all these houses. But no Zambian is actually doing that because we have no money. Even in our homes which were occupied today, we've been kicked out. So it's actually saddening, because those houses we have in Kamwala today should have been owned by our own local people. But here, when you own a house, you become an enemy of everyone. It's the aspect of, this person, that person. But anyway, this is where we close our program for this morning. Thank you so much for everyone who was watching us. I know on Facebook page we had quite a number of you who were following this particular program. But also remember, this particular program has been brought to you courtesy of the Federation of Small-Scale Miners Association of Zambia, and all we want to see is to promote mining by artisanal miners in Zambia, and how is it that it can be done well, starting from policy issues to down there. So do not be afraid to take risks. The young people moving around, in town doing nothing, go to these villages, not be scared. Go and start up something. God is everywhere. We have lithium, manganese, sugilites, and all manner, aquamarine, Tourmalines. I'm even now learning these words because I want to know more about it. Yeah, of course. But for now, from me, Prudence, Chota, the entire Camnet TV production team, it's bye for now, and God bless you.
Thank you.